That's nice. Fist bumps go to the teammates.
I wanna hear your go, go, go. I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game.
Pretty much. They play, you win.
Hello, welcome everybody. You're watching the European Development Championship. It's all brought to you by Gaming Malta, a home of gaming excellence. And haven't we got a show for you today as we crack into Group A? First game, it's obviously this Illuminar versus forZe matchup. We break into our best of ones first. Josh, how you feeling about this one?
I'm feeling excited. I love this format as well. We don't tend to see these kind of best of ones then go into a best of three kind of format, but I think it's fun. I think it adds a kind of new kind of twist to it. We often see best of ones being a little bit unpredictable, a little bit temperamental, and that's why we love them. So of course that first matchup of forZe Illuminar, that's going to be a really, really exciting one. Two teams that are both pretty strong in terms of world rankings and things like that. Very, very similarly matched. I would put forZe as the favourites, but you've got to remember today they've got two stand-ins playing for them. So I actually think this one's going to be a lot closer than it may seem on paper.
Yeah, I think so as well. Remember those two stand-ins, forZe and bo1? bo1 actually does have the highest rating on this team. I feel like that might be farming at a lower tier of Counter-Strike. This is going to be his proving ground, obviously, in the EDC one. I think as we break into the main tournament, obviously, you're going to be playing against a much higher tier of opposition. We did see him previously in those qualifiers playing for one win. Not massively like a standout player in my mind. Obviously, one win pipped to the post by some of these other teams, Josh, the Na'Vi Juniors of the world.
Yeah, one win, just narrowly missing out on that qualifying spot actually to Cyber Legacy right at the end, if you remember. So, bit unfortunate for him, but of course he gets his second wave in forZe, and I mean, in fact, it's not unfortunate for him at all, is it? He's got himself an awesome opportunity, but as you say, definitely needs to seize that opportunity and prove himself in a higher level roster, because he's definitely been playing at a much lower caliber of CS. A lot of his statistics have been against these lower tier teams in these kind of, I mean, even when you look back, it's like cash cups and things like that, qualifiers. So really not playing at this high tier of CS at any kind of level. Up on the screens right now, you've got those groups, those top four teams who we're going to be seeing today. forZe, Endpoint, CEX, Illuminar, and Budapest 5. And they'll be battling it out for those top spots in Group A. But there seems to be a lot of talented teams throughout the entirety of this tournament.
It's actually a bit confusing for the UK CS casters, isn't it? It's like, why is Endpoint CX? That's two teams. But
Yeah.
of course, it's not. Of course, joining forces to create an even bigger roster, just previously qualifying to ESL Pro League as well. We'll see them a little later today in that second best of one, so stay tuned for some UK action if you're interested. Obviously, we've got this Polish-Russian duel coming up first. It's that best of one. And we're actually getting on to Mirage to start us off. So if we break down the pick bans, I feel like Illuminar slightly winning this pick ban phase. I think if this was a best of three, they'd probably be picking into Mirage the majority of the time. Obviously, forZe want Inferno in pretty much every single series that they're playing. They're never going to get that against Illuminar. It's their permaban, Josh.
Absolutely, yeah, that's not going to happen. But that Mirage map pick, as you say, definitely somewhat won here by Illuminar. It would be the map you'd expect them to pick into, but by no means is it a bad map for forZe. In fact, it's the second highest win rate map they have in the last 3 months. They've taken some pretty big wins on it as well, beating Envy and Flashpoint 2 only a couple of weeks back. Wins against Gambit, Vizsla Krakow, Virtus Pro, Havu. So they're certainly confident here on Mirage. But you've got to remember, again, different roster. One player change might not make all too much difference. Two, you have to come in with your heads held high. You have to come in really prepared and have a whole nother level of coordination. Otherwise, it is just going to fall apart. So I am actually really excited to see how they hold up. Because we talked before this game about the fact that forZe, they've been a roster together for so long, and they're such a team-based team. They're so coordination-based. It's not just about running around and getting all these headshots and having just high-impact fraggers. They do work very, very well together as a cohesive team. And to have two stand-ins makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I don't think we really know where forZe and Waro is going to actually fit into that mix as well. We know that Waro likes to use the AWP. How's that going to work with C-Power as that primary AWP and maybe one of the better AWPs actually in the CIS scene here today? Maybe you see Waro go back to the AWP just for some rounds and stick with the M4 for the majority of the half, especially on that T side. How's that going to work out? His kind of change in style today. How's he going to be able to adapt? That's kind of one of the negative factors that you have to fight against as a newer player to one of these bigger rosters, is just you don't always get the positions on the map that you want. You don't always even get the weapon that you want. So obviously he's been put in a bit of a deficit, I would say, off the back of that, but you don't want to be taking the AWP away from C-Power at any point during this series. I think that he's probably the better AWPer that we've actually got in this series. He's obviously a primary AWP, whereas Snax can kind of mix and match it up. He's got a very versatile skill set. We've seen that obviously from years back to the Virtus Pro days.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, luckily for forZe, whilst they have lost a lot of firepower in the form of FaceCrack and Almazer, those two star players that we always talk about, and that's C-Power and Flit, they're still in the roster. They're still going to be playing today. Flit brings so much fragging power to this forZe side. If he was one of the players stepping away today, I'd be concerned. C-Power with that AWP, as you say, one of the better AWPers in the CIS region. He has a massive impact on this roster, and if he was stepping away today, I would be concerned, unless they were replacing him with another fantastic AWPer. But these two guys, they're still here. I think that of all of the kind of replaceable players that you could bring into the mix, those two are definitely the ones that are a little bit interchangeable. You just bring in those new riflers, as long as they kind of play that supportive role well, especially on that T side, then that can work out. But yeah, that firepower, that hard fragging power is still there. So I don't think that there's too much cause for concern. And I do still ever so slightly favour forZe in this map, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way.
No, I wouldn't be massively surprised either. I'm more scared, actually, for forZe's T side coming into today, to be perfectly honest, because when you're playing with stand-ins, sometimes those kind of methods that you've had very well drilled, of course, that forZe roster been playing CS for a very long time together, big results in the past as well. How is that going to translate and transfer over towards a series like this? This is your Group A, by the way, and especially against a team like Illuminar, by the way. They've got a big CT side, especially when you go over towards Mirage, and I feel like forZe, that CT side, can get out the double AWP setup, but with Waro in the mix, I don't think, especially on Mirage, that's as viable here today in this opening map of their tournament. This is what we're looking at here. We're obviously giving two teams from each and every one of these groups spots to our playoffs, where there's a lot of money on the line, of course, all the way through all of these EDC seasons. There's a bunch coming up right now, of course, and then in the early portion of 2021, $150,000 up for grabs today, $30,000 for this particular tournament. This is Group A. We've got forZe, Illuminar, Endpoint, and Budapest 5, and obviously we've got that B5 versus Endpoint matchup coming up next, Josh.
Absolutely, yeah. You see the bracket. I think that the best way to get to that playoff spot is certainly to take that best of one. As you see those power match odds come up on your screen, forZe, definitely the favourites here, but not by a mile. What do you think of that, Squid?
I think these odds would have been much more one-sided in forZe's favour if they were playing with their initial 5. Maybe if they got onto a better map, perhaps. Obviously, Mirage, that is a bit of a difference maker as well, and a bit of an equaliser. If there was any map in the pool that I wanted to see these two teams compete on against, it's definitely Mirage. I think that gives Illuminar one of the better chances. This would be their pick in a best of 3, and kind of might even show you what the pacing of a series like this would be. I think forZe would be looking to 2-0 and Illuminar in a best of 3, to be perfectly honest with you, and Mirage, pretty good proving ground.
Absolutely, yeah. When you actually really break it down, of course, forZe's best map, that Inferno, is Illuminar's permaban, so there's no way they're going to Inferno. Statistically speaking, Illuminar's best map is Overpass, and that is pretty much a permaban for forZe. They do tend to permaban Vertigo, but Overpass is always a close second. And then, yeah, the second best map for them, pretty much that Mirage turf. So it is really a strong ground for both sides. And yeah, I do think it's going to be a really, really interesting one. But as you say, with those two stand-ins in play, I think that it kind of closes those odds a little bit. And then them not being able to play on Inferno closes those odds a little bit further. And we are just at a point where, yeah, it could definitely go to either team.
I've got to say, I don't know why forZe don't play Vertigo, because it seems like it would fit into their skill set, right? A Star Orper, C-Power, who could probably play towards the A bomb site. They've got these very stable riflers. You've obviously got Flit, who on Train, for instance, will play the B site of, the B site of Train solo. He could probably play the B site of Vertigo solo as well. I don't know if it's a couple of those star players maybe verging away from it and not playing it as much. And 7 maps, it's quite a lot to actually drill into you and actually practice on a more consistent basis. I think having a permaban in Counter-Strike is definitely viable. We see the majority of teams do it. But as you go higher and higher in the ranks, of course, I think a lot of teams now kind of are playing 7 maps, or at least trying to. So I think having a permaban definitely puts you at an inherent disadvantage in a series like this. But I don't know why Vertigo would be a permaban for them, to be perfectly honest, because it seems like it would fit their skill set.
I don't know, Squid. Maybe they're just in denial about the fact that it's even in the pool in the first place. I think there are plenty of teams that, since Vertigo has sort of come into the pool, they're like, oh no, not Vertigo. Like we're not playing this, and
they're holding their eyes, head in hands. No, Valve, take it out. No.
If everybody refuses to play it, then Valve will get rid of it.
Maybe not.
Probably not.
As we've seen in the past. I don't think Valve works well with blackmail. I don't think they're the sort of organization who you can convince very easily. Maybe you have to give Gabe Newell a back rub.
Maybe that's what
maybe it's worth it. Might be worth it. Either way, here are your rosters. Snacks, the main man in the middle, doesn't represent how big he is. They've actually made these guys more evenly sized, but he would be poking off at the top of the graphic if this was real size.
Yeah, you can tell he's been made a bit smaller. He's been probably the shortest there.
Well, you can see by the shoulder span as well. His shoulder's way off of the graphic.
Yeah.
Just to make himself like average height.
Yeah,
he would be poking right off the top there. They wouldn't have been able to fit him on that graphic.
Well, there's your rosters, and now we get into the match. We kick things off straight off the bat with the pistol. This is a very, very early stack towards this A site. This is a bizarre one for Illuminar, and not one that's going to pay off for them as forZe. They're going elsewhere.
Yeah, they're not going to spot anything here, and with no defense on this B bomb site, they hear all the nades rattling and rolling in, and forZe, they pretty much just read it perfectly. This is lucky, a 50-50 gamble that pays off perfectly, and bomb planted without any damage dealt. I wonder, do Illuminar even decide to save this if they lose a couple of players, just keeping the Kevlar in hand? I really don't know, because this is such a tough retake. You're basically peeking into a stacked B bomb site. This is absolutely impossible. forZe is going to be the first man to receive that aggression. Veggie finds one in the meantime, but these USPS is surely getting cut apart. They do lose those engagements, finally, leaving just Mouse's 1 versus 2 to achieve. He is finding the headshots, and with only 2 bullets in the barrel, has to go for the reload. That allows Flit to peak. 1-0 forZe.
Perhaps a counter strat, perhaps just a lucky coin flip. forZe, they walk straight into a free B bomb site, and that's just a massive disadvantage from Illuminar all day long. That B site's a pretty tricky one to retake at the best of times, especially up close against those Glocks. A pistol round where you've only got 1 kit in play, and of course that time pressure, because it takes so long to rotate round to that B bomb site. So by the time they were even there, they only had about 20 seconds to work with. It's going to be another fast hit from this T side. forZe fancy their chances against these Deagles.
And there goes the Molotov as well. It does get extinguished. So the first Desert Eagle out. Veg is only able to find the first. And, well, it does get effectively traded back. Reed's getting spammed through that smoke, but not finished off. Allows him to do some damage. But it only leaves Snacks versus 3 here. Who else would you want in a position like this? Perhaps. C-Power gets his head ripped off. And through this smoke, Snacks is fighting even more. Tapping with the Desert Eagle. And just about misses that last shot. forZe is able to take him away 2-0. These have all come the absolute distance. We should have mentioned, Josh, I can't believe we didn't, because we did find out a little earlier that Illuminar, they were playing until 1 a.m. last night in a 120 round thragathon in the grand final of the Polish league.
That sounds like my idea of hell, I think. Even though I do love Counter-Strike, that is too much Counter-Strike.
I feel like we play CSGO until 1 a.m. enough to know what it's like.
I suppose, yeah, but it's just like such a long game. I think just too much of anything just becomes terrible. It's like ice cream. I love ice cream, but if you give me 120 scoops of ice cream, I'm going to throw up.
It's like that. What is it? It's like that movie where they make the girl eat the chocolate cake, but all of the cake, or the guy eat the chocolate cake in the school. It's Matilda.
Oh, right. I don't think I've seen Matilda. You know?
Matilda's an all-time classic movie. I saw the West End version of Matilda, Josh, because I'm that kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Don't read any more into that. It's 2-0 already, and the AK-47s, they're not actually standing up to the fight too well. Jared's going to bring that back in their favor. This time, Reet's 1 versus 3. I think he might even get spotted if that pistol's stolen away. I'm sure that Jerry isn't eagle-eyed enough to notice that that pistol has been nabbed from a range. So inside the window, he's gone incognito at the 30-second mark, and forZe are playing this one incredibly slowly. They don't want to lose their lives to this Desert Eagle, and sniffing him out, they know exactly where he's playing from, and this should allow the MAC-10 to sweep him up, but challenging with a lower HP player against the Desert Eagle doesn't make too much sense, and we might see a repeat of history once again. Cannot connect onto Jerry. There's the swing for the 3rd win, and forZe on the board again.
Well, it's a really good start from them, isn't it? Of course, a 3-0 lead, and that is going to shift the parry match odds. There they are on your screen. They've certainly tilted more and more in forZe's favour. And I think that that's an interesting one. We often talk about the bettors being very fickle. A 3-round lead is kind of what you expect after the pistol, but in a best of 1, I suppose, definitely gives you an advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that banner down below as well if you want to take advantage of any of those paramatch odds throughout, not just today's game, but all of this series in general. There's a deposit bonus there as well. Make sure that you're over 18, gamble responsibly, all of that good stuff. Right now, Josh, just in a tactical timeout.
Yeah, I think it's a forZe tactical timeout as well, so that's interesting. Trying to work out what they want to do here going forward. Of course, they've got all the weapons to work with. Is Flit just down to a P250?
Is he? That would be very interesting here because his teammates have enough to drop him an AK-47, so this makes no sense whatsoever.
He's enough for an AK.
Got enough for an AK. That is
confused.
So wild. And already up towards short and dead already. Maybe they're just giving Illuminar a chance because this round has been an absolute blistering one. 4 kills already, shut out at the door, and C-Power's AWP investment should even go to waste here. He doesn't get spotted through those flashbangs, but they seem to know exactly where he's playing from. They must have the information, but peeking Almazer, always a dangerous threat. C-Power, even more dangerous, Josh.
Well, that sucked. I really don't get what forZe's plan was there. They had such a good start, 3-0 up. They call a tactical timeout. Maybe they could have done without the tactical timeout, to be honest, because things were going good before that. And then, yeah, I don't even know what was discussed there. I mean, by Flit not buying actually levels out this money, means that everyone's around that $2,000 to $2,500 mark, and they will actually be able to reinvest into the next. But, of course, this was the buy round. They could have gone for a full buy here. I'd have liked to seen something a little bit slower, a little bit more coordinated. Instead, they just charged up mid. They charged into A straight off the bat, and they just got completely mowed down. You can't do that against Illuminar. You have to give them some respect. If you play slow, if you outmaneuver them, outposition them, then yeah, you've got a chance. If you just charge in and allow them to line up the frags, they're going to take them all day long.
Yeah, such a powerful round from Illuminar as well. It could be hard even if a bad round is thrown at you to contend with it this effectively. They have given away 2 of these weapons though, Josh, so of course it won't be a clean round as we perhaps expected. 1 to 3, Illuminar, they're first on the board. They've obviously got enough for a full investment here, and so do forZe. They've taken another timeout. I am guessing these are going to be technical. Maybe these Mystic TeamSpeak pauses creeping in.
Well, someone's gone from the server.
Maybe it's not TeamSpeak then.
Look, there's 2 Snackses at the bottom. They've brought in.
I would say that
Snax's
would be
evil
an
twin.
advantage.
Yeah.
That could be their like Avengers power.
So yeah, we swap out one of our guys. We bring in Snacks 2.
Snacks 2.0. He's even bigger, even better. He uses like a. It's basically like when Mario eats the giant mushroom.
Yeah. He's not called Snacks. He's just called like Meal.
Yeah.
So he's bigger.
There we go. First joke of the day, ladies and gents. Don't say we didn't show up. Feast.
Beast.
That's Snacks' Pokemon when he evolves.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, Illuminar, they've done a good job at putting that first on the board. You say that even when a bad round's thrown at you, it can be difficult to deal with it as well as they did, and you're absolutely right. Even though forZe did just kind of feed them the round a little bit, they dealt with it very, very nicely, and it does put their first on the board. Gives them a really good opportunity to get back into this one too. If they win the next, they're going to break forZe's economy. They might be able to level out this scoreline 3-3, and that's really their goal right now. And look how spooky this is. Look, 2 players have disconnected from the server, but their shadows are still there.
Oh no.
Ah.
I didn't notice this. Maybe they've been consumed by the big god of CSGO.
They're just ghosts. That is spooky.
That is spooky, isn't it? I never noticed that before. How is this the first time that I've noticed that your shadows, like the Vashta Narada, tattooed on the ground?
I feel like this doesn't normally happen. I love the observer looking up to the sky, though, for like a higher power. Something's going on here. There we go. They're back in the server, though, so should be back into this one momentarily.
So they had 5 players, but 7 shadows.
Is that an advantage? I don't think so.
Could be. You could use it as a hiding spot. You could hide in the shadows, as they often say in literature.
I don't think they provide you with much cover. Maybe a bit of a fake. Imagine swinging out to CT and you see a shadow and you're like, oh, I've got this. And then you swing and pre-fire and there's nobody there.
Yeah, maybe there's an advantage to be found if you put the shadow near the CT spawn just on the corner and then bait them in. That could be a next level mind game.
It could be. Not one that I think we'll be seeing anytime soon, though.
I feel like there are so many phantom things about CSGO that you just don't fall for that sort of thing nowadays. You're like, shadow, I won't trust it.
It's a shame, really, isn't it? Oh, as we get back into round number 5, this is an important one for Illuminar to pick up. If they lose this round, forZe will definitely be off to a really, really strong lead here on this T side. So just spread around the map, going for a bit of a default. They throw some util over towards A, a little bit of presence on B, and then, yeah, fully expect them to reconvene, grab that C4 a little bit later in the round and actually go for a site hit. But right now, it's all about presence, and it's all about trying to catch out any of these aggressive defenders if they get impatient.
This is exactly what you'd expect from forZe. C-Power just flirting with the opportunity of that A-bomb site. These tight, narrow angles with the AWP. He often hits them. Doesn't spot out anybody to start. Mau's right around this corner. He's going to find one headshot, and there's no trade potential there. So risking the AWP doesn't make much sense. Baits PHR into the peak, and that does level up the numbers. Usually favors Terrace side.
Woro, sneaky stuff. A little bit later in the round, trying to get up mid, and I might just have the timing on Veggie. No, Veggie Spidey senses kick in, spins around. Now the steps towards apartments, and Foster needs to hit the shots. Absolutely gets the first. But Reitz is here in the corner to cause further complications as he finds 2, and that should just seal the deal.
C-Power can't see anything either. Waro, he went down early, and Reitz just baiting him into the corner, tries to tap the bomb, but nobody gonna fall for it. C-Power, they actually concede it if necessary, and Maus even finds that shot as well. That was stolen away from Reitz, saving his life, and that is the second for Illuminar, surviving both the previous with 3 alive. This is gonna force the first eco of the series, perhaps.
Yeah, we should absolutely see Illuminar take this one 3-3. That's unfortunate. A scenario where maybe you would want to see C-Power save. Obviously, he was in a 1v3. He was in a position where he could have just fallen away. Obviously, fancy his chances in that 1 versus 3. And also recognize the fact that going into this next, they wouldn't have had any money to force around the AWP anyway. So go for the eco here. Let it go 3-3, then play. But it does mean that we've got a hell of a game on our hands. Remember, this is a best of 1. There's no margin for error. So Illuminar pulling this one back and leveling out this scoreline is absolutely fantastic for them. And this should work wonders for their economy if they don't drop too many men to the Glocks.
Yeah, and that's no guarantee here, especially against forZe. Waro apparently wants a little bit of central heating here in December. Sometimes that can be an appealing factor. Sometimes you look at those flames and say, yeah, I'd rather be in there. I think December in Russia as well, probably a lot colder than you'd be comfortable with, but this is a dangerous round. Of course, that goes down to a 1 versus 2. Illuminar lose 3 players. You called it an opportunity to build up that bank. It's not. 3-3. The money's low for both teams, and we're off to the races again.
There's the parry match odds back on your screen. As we see this scoreline tie up, so do the odds. Very, very close stuff. Of course, remember, there's that banner down below if you do want to head over and place yourself a bet. Make sure you're over 18. Gamble responsibly, of course. As we get into round number 7, this is the other full buy and an AWP on both sides once again. But what a nice boost from Veggie to open things up.
Quick headshot. That's what matters. Snack's able to find one as well. These rifle rounds, they're dealing with them far more convincingly than the pistols. PHR another. This is already a 5 versus 2. As forZe's T side that I posed would be the problem is starting to fall apart. AWP towards mid. C-Power's found some of the only opening picks forZe have merited. And realistically, this will be an Illuminar 4th, but how many players can they actually carry into this one? Been very aggressive at the end of a lot of these rounds, and doing so again against this forZe C-Power combination could prove fatal for at least a couple of players. They've still got Snacks on the AWP. We said he would be holding it here today. Obviously, they do have versatility and mobility with this sniper. forZe have that as well. You'll see it come to fruition on their CT side more than likely. Maybe Waro will fancy it if the money is riding high. Snacks spawn. He's 7-3 right now and just waiting, watching for these peaks. forZe love this slow style, and they'll employ it again here in round number 7. And C-Power, that's incredibly fast. So as Forrester maneuvers out towards this bomb site, they won't check into Maus. So the AWP needs to get the job done. Maus will finish him off as well. Knew that he had to peek and swing. It's 4-3.
That's really smart from Maus there. You could sometimes just stay underneath, hope that the AWP doesn't try and go for some crazy shot, but you know that C-Power will do. So to swing out, put yourself in a really advantageous position to actually find both. Perfectly played. Puts Illuminar in the lead and forces forZe into a bit of a force. Some pistols come out, some Kevlar, a little bit of utility, but that is going to be all. I'd like to see something a little bit faster, and that might be what we're getting towards B. Maybe under instead.
Yeah, with the smokes coming through towards jungle, there should be an obvious one for Illuminar to kind of figure out. That's why the incendiary goes down early, just to prevent some map control. And Illuminar seem to be hyper aware what's happening. Usually Mirage is their pick, so you'd expect them to know how to play the CT side. We saw it many, many times before. And once again, it's rearing its head. PHR through this smoke, damage dealt, doesn't concede much, as Veggie can now come in from the back lines and try and rip apart these pistols. The last one, incredibly competitive. This one, not so much. Another 5 versus 2, and all of these early engagements seem to be going Illuminar's way. Pretty much 7 days of the week here as of that pistol trio. forZe, we need some kills here. Flit's not going to land it. Desert Eagle doesn't connect. And this might be Illuminar's first flawless round of the half. 5-3.
Nice 3k there from Snacks. Of course, I quite like the idea from forZe, but you've got to remember in rounds like that, when you do go for a pistol force-up, you're expecting more than no kills.
Of course, we've got Hellcase as well in the meantime. Those banners are down below for you Hellcase folk, if that's what you're fancying doing. As always, B18, do all of that good stuff. Right here, Josh, though, we do have this full buy here for forZe. The first time that we've seen it in a little while. Veggie's going to just step out towards short, find two in the meantime. This seems to be a lot speedier. And without that bomb on their back, they can't really speed into the curly letter. And Sped C-Power, he's going to be challenged to those entries.
This is what we were talking about beforehand. C-Power, he's just so impactful. And in so many of these rounds as well, we just see him hitting these ridiculous shots. Snacks is incredibly versatile. We see him playing all around the map, taking these aggressive stances. And somehow C-Power just has this ability to peek into the AWP scope and still land the shot. It's incredible. Gives them this man advantage, gives them a lifeline in this round, as it's looking like they're about to come in from all angles towards this A site.
And C-Power again, it feels like it's always him finding these first picks. And Illuminar's first challenge in a rifle round. A 2 versus 4, the bomb to go down. This might be save time for the team to not really have built up a massive bank. They could definitely do with this extra cash. They still will set up for exits, hoping that forZe won't survive this one with 4 alive. They call this suicide for a reason, Josh. There's pretty much a 99% chance that Flit nails a headshot if they come barreling through.
Yeah, you kind of crouch through it so awkwardly and slowly, don't you? Unless you hit like the crazy B-hop where you go, like whip through it.
I think you also make that noise. You get it successfully. The good you get the full Doppler effect.
Yeah. Well, it's looking like they will be able to save both of these rifles, but I think more notably, forZe are able to save 4 weapons across, including that AWP on C-Power. So before this round, their economy was not in the best of positions. Now, they've all got around that $2,000 mark behind them. Everyone except Jerry, I suppose. And that means that they've got a cushion to fall back on. Even if they do lose this round, they can reinvest into the next, and they're in a pretty healthy position right now. Round number 10, this is where Snacks wants to try and find this opening pick, but as he's smoked off, forZe should be able to take this mid control with ease.
He is so close to landing that shot as well. You see how patient he is with the timing, knowing that he can get bombarded by the nades, but doesn't care anyway. He stands there. He's happy to sponge. It's 5-4, and forZe with mid control, bomb going towards this B bomb site, looking to set up for a split.
Such heavy smoke presence towards mid. There's actually been 4 T-smokes deployed in this middle area now, so they've got 1 left to play with. Moro, a little bit overzealous, trying to get onto the bench. Veggie's going to punish him for that one, and now they want to try and default into a B hit.
This is the way the majority of Polish teams play. You see that mid-control and now Reach shutting down everything on the B bomb site. forZe needs to maneuver through, does nail one in the meantime, and he's got the information onto the second with the AWP joining the party. C-Power again with an opening, and they know that Veggie's right here. They batter him with the flashbang. He's going to be fully blind, disabled for a couple of seconds, and challenge from the back. They now know where both of these CTs are. They need to get the bomb down fast. There goes the incendiary. It's ever so slightly late. C-Power is able to dive to a more aggressive position, missing the shot though. That might be his first whiff of the match. Now he's going to have to connect 2 with the forester eliminated, and on the B bomb site, looking around all of these pillars, and he misses another one. Now needs to nail everything, otherwise it's going to be Illuminar onto 6 with the smoke place. He hits one right through the clouds, cannot connect onto Veggie, and that will be Illuminar on the board once again, but C-Power made that exceptionally close.
Yeah, even the no-scope at the end just millimeters away from connecting, but unfortunately, that first whiff that he could not connect pretty much cost him the round. If he hits that shot onto Veggie, then it's a 2 versus 1 against Mouse. They've got the post-plant positions. He's still a few seconds behind. And they should be able to close it. But of course, missing that AWP shot allows Veggie to swing out, kill his teammate, and then leave him in a pretty much impossible position. Round number 11 now, 6-4. This is that cushion I talked about. forZe, they've got enough money to go for another full investment here. But they do need to start putting some more rounds on the boards. Remember, this is a best of 1. They can't afford to allow Illuminar to take a big lead. Otherwise, they're really picking at straws to try and get back.
You love a good cushion, mate. Snacks, he likes one as well. He wants to extend the lead and does so with the AWP. The first time that we've seen C-Power lose his life, but as soon as he does, that secondary AWP of Waro able to pick it up for the first time. Finding his first kill with that sniper as well. Only his second of the match. He's 2 in 10 and really struggling. That's one of the problems that we said that this forZe roster might have. As forZe drops as well, the stand-ins not really showing up to the party. As Snack's able to eliminate that AWP. And just Jerry on the A-bomb site is able to be eliminated. 7-4 here. Illuminar, very powerful round as they are leaving forZe boxed in on every account. You know that both teams prioritize their CT side. Illuminar definitely showing that with what could amount to be a double-digit half.
It absolutely could at this point. We've still got several rounds to play with. I just want to say it. That was an exceptional flick from Snacks to open up the round against C-Power. Much, much harder than it looks. And actually, a fantastic round off the back of it as well. Illuminar, they keep 4 alive. This is just really convincing stuff right now. I'm really enjoying their Mirage. And Veggie, he's playing short so perfectly. The damage dealt, then he falls away with the Incendiary. And forZe, fast-paced round, now slowed down and the need to deal further damage.
Waro's had an absolutely horrible time today, hasn't he? 2 to 12. Only getting that AWP for a second or so. Snacks retorted. And forZe does bring back the numbers. It's 1 minute 10 to play with. And Mao's on this A-bomb site. He has a solo defense towards this side of the map. That's permitting that forZe decide to pick this side of the equation. He does spray and spam through that smoke. As I've said, Josh, these stand-ins having a real tough and tricky time. Minute to play with, and here comes the C-Power peak. He's been consistently finding a kill every time, and there's another one. Sliding headshot, Mao's executed.
How on earth does he just consistently hit shots like that? That's so difficult just to find the head with the AWP scope. That's going to open up a big opportunity for forZe to get onto this A-bomb site, actually plant this C4 and Illuminar. They don't even really seem to be reacting to it. They're in position to go for a retake. I'm not sure whether they actually commit to it or not. All comes down to whether they find these first picks, and Reitz does. So Bunting's back into the 3-on-3, potential for them to actually go for this one.
Definitely could, especially with forZe eliminated. I think that the bomb might be slightly too far ticked, but 3 out of 3 of those opening kills coming through, and they need to now bombard their way onto this bomb site. They've not got much time to play with, but with C-Power smoked off, and that flash high in the sky, they're going to go for this one, and this looks like a Clash of Polish retake. Straight into this. C-Power still not spotted, but needs to peek from Palace and doesn't. That gives Illuminar an 8th round. A retake they weren't even going for.
That is actually incredible. Yeah, they're just playing really defensive there, hoping for some exit frags. forZe get a little bit over-aggressive. They peek into short. They peek into jungle. They lose all of those gunfights. Of course, remember, a couple of players down to Galil's there. So against the M4s, they just didn't have the firepower necessary. And yeah, with just about enough time on the board, Illuminar say, yeah, do you know what? We're going to go for this one. And smoking off C-Power, it's so important that they conserve that utility as well. So for the retake, they did have those 2 smoke grenades. So if C-Power was playing in ramp or palace, which where the bomb was planted, he kind of had to be, there was no way for him to get his way back into that one. Just had to fall back and save. It's going to be the 8th for Illuminar. That's actually a really fantastic round. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, I'm massively impressed. They actually had 4 smokes on that retake there. And how just infrequently do you see that happen? Usually CT side, you would have thrown the majority of them in the early round. That didn't happen, and maybe forZe, as a result, want to speed this up. This game has been so tough to take, and especially this A-bomb site. They haven't found any of these openings, and they could get ground to a halt if the Illuminar know what they're doing. With PHR in the open, they're doing all of the damage, leaving just C-Power and Waro, the 2 AWPers. Only one has the sniper. It's C-Power from inside the palace. He wants to dive down, but stuck in the mud. It's going to be a Illuminar win once again.
That is so fantastically played from Illuminar. As soon as those nades start to come over, Mouse doesn't even face. Ordinarily, you'd see that A-site anchor, try and find those opening picks towards the ramp, try and find maybe 1-2 kills, and instead, he stays behind the boxes. He says, guys, this is a fast A rush. I need all of the reinforcements. He doesn't peek at all until his teammates are in position, and those rotation flashes have come in, and then he swings out, deals tons of damage, and his teammates are able to do the same. Right now, now a much faster play towards middle, but with only the Tech 9s and the Deagles, they seem to be getting shut down. forZe, they've done a little bit of damage. They've still got the C4 in hand, and forZe has actually found himself an AK to work with, but with that nade coming in, dealing further damage, it's all posted. Oh, it's unfortunate he can't quite connect. Oh my, he's just found himself a double headshot. What on earth? Did they just line up?
They did. He didn't even see the second man there. That was absolutely, totally dead to rights blind.
I didn't even see the second man.
And now forZe actually has a chance. He's scrambling inside the palace. Reeds thinks that it could potentially be this B bomb site. Bomb on his back as well. It's actually almost matching C-Power as the top fragger in this server. 13 against C-Power's 14, and we've seen what impact he's had throughout the majority of this map. Walks into the open, though, and that's so sensational for Reeds, just to keep his cool. Grab the AK-47 off the back of it, and Illuminar keep the scoreline going. I'm sure that we're going to see this double headshot once again, Josh. Surely going to come up here. See that Snacks misses that one, and forZe, yeah, they just line up, don't they?
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. But it is now a double-digit half at the very least for Illuminar. Of course, not a terrible round considering forZe just had the Tech 9s to work with. But realistically, they'd have really liked to take it after that 1v1, and now it's an important one for them to convert. Otherwise, we might be seeing 11 for Illuminar, something I certainly wasn't expecting.
Snacks through these smokes. He is so brutal. We've seen him do that so many times. Maybe not against C-Power. He drops early. And that is a massive deficit for forZe to work with. Could grant Illuminar an 11-4 half. Snacks burning alive, but still finding shots. He's got the AWP in hand and only needs one more to make this a successful round. Straight through the smoke. Just misses by a whisker. And that gives all of the space to Veggie to clean up the rest. Jerry's only on 14 points of health, so needs everything. And Veggie's going to shut him down. Half over. And look at that blue tear all the way through the middle. Yes, it was the initial 3 from forZe. But ever since then, they only found one rifle round in that entire half. Oh, I remember Warrow. He was... The reason why I don't remember him, Josh, is we never got to see his name. You saw on the scoreboard there? Banjo is his name.
Banjo. He's muted. Formerly Bell.
Bell or Horse or something like that. By the way, the power match odds firmly favouring Illuminar for the first time. 1.27. We saw the massive underdogs actually just after that 3-0 lead that forZe were able to take.
It's certainly interesting, but certainly expected. They are the better team here on Mirage so far. forZe, they need to take this opportunity on their CTC side to pick this one back up.
Yeah, and they're finding all of these pistol shots. There is their second pistol granted. All of the kills from Warrow there. A couple of feel-good frags at the end. Always good to get your confidence going, especially if you are going to pull out this double AWP setup. You don't want to be missing shots. We know that C-Power is going to connect his, but whether Warrow will do the same, that is soon to be seen. He actually goes straight in for the M4A4, so maybe a bit of a tell into his mindset here. I don't think this has been a massively comfortable map for him. 11-5 in the meantime.
Just with a couple of upgraded pistols, it's looking like Illuminar are going to head towards B. They certainly had an opportunity if that incendiary wasn't placed, but now that goes down, delays them a little bit further. They are still only up against one MP9 though, so if they hard clear this corner, there's a chance that they get this bomb down at the very least.
They need to check forZe though. Maybe you could say run, forZe, run. He's in a really tough position right now. MP9... obviously unarmored opponents, but probably wants 3 to rack up this cash. And will they peek? And that's the big question mark. No trigger discipline off the back of that one, and he surely is dead to rights. I'm surprised that Illuminar aren't just trailing off the back of this, and that nade's going to do sensational amounts of damage as well. forZe keeps the angle posted. C-Power in the back lines, and this will be 0 kills there for Illuminar, as they don't even deal with forZe in that attempt. Definitely no bomb plant, as the difference now 5.
That's unfortunate. I expected more than that, especially after forZe just fired off when the first man peaked. As you say, no trigger discipline whatsoever. You expect him to be traded maybe 1 for 1, 2 for 1. Instead, he just continues to peak. The Glocks can't do the damage, and he finds himself a 4K. Nonetheless, here at round number 18, Illuminar still with a firm 5-round lead. Now have weapons to work with too. C-Power's upgraded to that AWP. It's actually forZe that's dropped it to him after that MP9 4. Obviously merited him another $2,400. But still with 2 MP9s to work with and C-Power just not spotting out that man through the smoke. He could get caught out here.
And he does. Smoke out, doesn't expect it. That's such a lovely peek there from PHR. Plays that one to perfection. Obviously reading into what C-Power has been doing. And now they have to hold up the whole of the A defense just with Waro. I guess Flit will probably be extinguished by a couple of smoke grenades. Jerry, in the meantime, only an MP9 to play with. They're not going to spot out for him. Holds down Mouse 1. Mows down both of them. PHR still stuck towards the middle of the map as well, so this becomes a lot more difficult against the AK-47.
That's what happens. A single flank flips around on its head. This was a 4 versus 3 with Illuminar with a firepower advantage and the C4 in hand. Now quite the opposite. 3v2. Jerry got this AK in hand. Eyes on the bomb. Mao's just not spotting out this head. 35 seconds left to play with. PHR definitely needs to speed this one up and absolutely needs to find this frag towards ramp. If he dies here, it's round over. If he finds it, certainly still in contention, but quick headshot. 20 seconds now to work with as they burst out.
And another one, pretty much simultaneously from Maze, leaves Flip, hard position, but definitely has the health advantage and sweeps away both of them, makes it look easy. 11-7, forZe survive. That's not the clean round that we were perhaps expecting with the flank in full effect. Only one player carrying an M4 through. See Jerry 2 kills early round. Massively impactful there at number 18. The MVP, that's what's most important, Josh, isn't it? You get those MVP stars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I collect them. I put them on the wall. Or the fridge.
Or your jumper.
Or my jumper, yeah.
Is that what was making that bell noise the other night?
Yeah, man. All my MVPs. I have loads of them.
They jingle and jangle.
Wow, an incredibly close round. Of course, yeah, Jerry just doing so much work in the last, but this is going to be a fast B hit just with the pistols. So much damage through the smoke from that M4.
Nice has already been eliminated as well, so with the M4A1S dropping, Warren needs to hold up a standard defense. This might be his first challenge. Getting wrapped around, fully blind headshot, finally punished by the AWP. Snacks through this smoke, wants to stay stealthy and sneaky, but I think he's just been spotted. They know exactly where he's playing from, and there is C-Power to mow him out of the server. Can go back for the sniper rifle. Jerry's going to grab it. We'll be an 8th on the board. I said that forZe might struggle on their terrorist side. I didn't think they were going to put up something this sturdy, and this is incredibly lucky, to be perfectly honest, to actually nail that second shot onto Reitz.
Yeah, if he doesn't find that double spray down, Illuminar might actually be able to get that bomb down and have a chance in the round. For the first time this entire game, forZe going for this double AWP setup. It's Waro to hold the second. They're not really contending mid-control all too much. Waro's playing deep towards short, and C-Power instead going for the fast Palace peak, but Veggie's quicker.
Oh, and Reitz finds one pretty much in unison. So as Jerry peaks once again, he is at least going to sweep away Veggie and take away that Palace control once more. That pretty much closes the A-bomb site a little more for business. Mouse cannot peek through those smokes. They have no idea that he's playing here, albeit that one damage that he incurred was earlier from the nade.
Illuminar right now definitely more inclined to head over towards this B site, especially with that top con smoke in place. And if PHR can find this kill, then absolutely he can't, but Snacks can. And what is this AWP doing, getting aggressive towards underpass? Waro hits the shot regardless. That adds complications to the mix.
He's got so much map control. He's actually pushing forward once again. And Reitz, yes, he's bailing back towards A. He does have a teammate. That's Mao's actually taken the bomb site. And it doesn't look like forZe really know what's going on here. Waro, Jerry, they've misread this situation towards the middle of the map. Finally back up towards the connector. That smoke grenade is going to telegraph what's happening. But at the 30-second mark, Jerry's already here. And that is a lightning fast shot onto Mao's. He was ready and waiting for it. And the second as well from the captain. A 9th round, a flawless half on this CT side from forZe as the streak continues.
Round number 20 was quite literally just the Jerry show. He found himself 4 kills and 4 massively high impact kills too. Of course, trading out the Orpera C-Power, then finding those final 2 closers. And there's your parry match odds once again. We see them closing. 1.8 for Illuminar, 1.95 for forZe. That was incredibly one-sided earlier.
And I've got to say, when we update them a little later on, What is this? Is that Reds? Reets? That's... Smile.
Ah, he's happy. He's
Who's
a happy Reeds.
Oh, that is a smile. Look at that. Yeah, he's showing those gnashers. That's the first time I think I've ever seen a CSGO player smile. Nobody ever does
so
it.
too.
Well,
Yeah,
he's
nobody
paid
ever
a lot of
does.
money for those teeth, Josh. He's got to show them off.
Yeah, you very rarely see the teeth.
Lots
Yeah,
of prize money went into getting those whitened.
Maybe he just brushes his teeth, man.
Maybe it's Photoshop. No, nobody in 2020 has teeth that white. Maybe it's just because I'm British and, kind of notorious for it. This is going to be faster once again. The pistol's just trying to get up close and personal. That's not going to work out. We've seen so many of these A executes thwarted. Both teams really failing to get that bomb down. The majority of the time, and this is another example of it. Only 2 kills there from Illuminar. As the forZe money starting to build, I'm sure when we see those power match odds once again, Josh, it will likely be forZe the favorites here. That's what I'd be expecting anyway. CT side, it's been perfect.
Yeah, they have definitely just been better on this defensive half. And I think that maybe does come down to these stand-ins a little bit. We did see a little bit of a lack of coordination when they were attacking. On this CT side, you can just kind of post this rock-solid defense and allow your fraggers to find the kills. Especially Waro, considering he was having a very rough opening half. Now he's on the CT side, he can pull out this AWP and actually do some serious work with it.
And that's exactly what we expected, what we predicted. Playing this double sniper setup on the T side and maybe just putting Waro in a really uncomfortable position, probably not going to benefit off the back of it. Now they're on the CT side, obviously feeling comfortable. Those 2 pistol rounds obviously gave them a way back in. This could have been 14-1 in the first half if Illuminar had won that initial pistol. It's obviously a lot harder to dictate what would have happened later on if maybe some of those halves have gone different. Molotov's through. forZe on the oven. Maybe cooking a fried egg. Maybe not helped out by the Molotov. I think that a fried egg, Josh, maybe has to be at a slightly lower temperature than a molly.
Yeah, I think so too. Otherwise, it goes all like rubbery. You don't want to fry an egg at a too high temperature. forZe have taken a lot of control this round, though. Deep into the apartments, now pushing into underpass. Of course, they had that ramp control early with the smoke posted too. So with 30 seconds on this clock, Illuminar really have nothing to work with. And this is where they go for a late A hit, but they have to be worried about forZe in the back lines.
They've been totally boxed in. He doesn't spot it, though, and reach an opening kill. Now the swing from the AWP as C-Power also drops. No idea how Snack spots him. Jerry's able to swing out, and he's still not been dealt with. So with the support on this A bomb site, Flit is already here, and that's all off the back of the information that Reach doesn't check it. He won't be smiling anymore, as it's 11-11. forZe have taken back this gap from that 11-4 first half. That has been a 7-round streak.
Yeah, it's actually pretty sensational, and I think a lot of it is off of the back of Jerry. He is just playing superb Counter-Strike. Another 3k there. If he drops in Sandwich, that's it. Round over. But instead, steps up to the plate, even finding that closing frag, and now just back down to the pistols. It's back to basics for Illuminar, and we know that they don't seem to do very well on basics. Just these pistols getting mowed away in mid. Only the 1 kill found for Reets here.
Yeah, and he's already been spotted as well. They've got pretty much all of the information. They know that Snacks has snuck his way into the ladder room, and even though a bit of damage has been dealt, it's still 4 players against Illuminar's 2. And even to challenge the AWP might be a bit easier said than done. This might be forZe taking the lead for the first time in this map. It almost certainly will be. Quick shot from the Tech-9. At that range, you don't expect it, but double ops retained. That will be number 12 on the board.
Yeah, a little bit of damage dealt. That shouldn't matter all too much to forZe, though. Surprisingly, despite the fact that they've won 8 in a row now, their economy isn't actually great. You'd expect it to be better than this. forZe and Flit actually don't have any money in the bank, so that does really show how close some of these rounds have been and how much damage Illuminar have actually been doing, that they need to start putting these rounds back on the board. They're having a pretty atrocious T side right now. with these AKs to work with, the utility, this is where they need to step up, and C-Power missing that opening shot might just give them a window of opportunity to do so.
I'm surprised Illuminar haven't gone for mid-control more. The smokes, yes, they've held them back, but it seems to be where they're having the most success. And with the flashbangs through, Flit, he's at least going to find the first couple. Waro chips in the meantime, playing above those smokes. And they have no idea that C-Power is just lingering inside the ladder room. PHI, yes, he's watching onto short, but the double AWP's looking to contest these angles. They haven't dropped any of them yet. And Waro's starting to really find his feet in this opening map of their tournament. Jerry with another headshot. There's a tag, but no frag. His Veggie also gets spotted. They die in unison. In forZe, this flawless half continues. It's a baker's dozen.
Yeah, they are really, really pulling this one off. Waro, I think really your worst fear is when you're standing in for a team, it's like a big step up, and you have a terrible performance. But here on this CT side, he is putting up some big numbers and having a massive impact here for forZe. Illuminar, off of the back of this max loss bonus, they've saved some money in the last couple of rounds too. They're going to have plenty of cash to work with here going into the 25th. But if they lose this one, they have no money in the bank. forZe will be on 14, and we might even be seeing a map point.
Josh, do you know why they call it a baker's dozen?
Because that's how many bits of bread the baker cooks.
That's how many bits of bread the baker cooks.
Or bakes.
Yeah, it's because if they're trying to make a dozen, you make 13, chuck the worst one away, and then you've got a perfect dozen.
Oh, right.
That's why.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
That might just be an old wives' tale. I don't know any bakers personally, to be honest. I know a guy called Charlie Baker, but he doesn't make bread.
Ah, it's rubbish. In my town, they opened a swanky bread shop where they bake bread in front of you, but it's like £6 a loaf, and that is too much money for bread.
But they make it in front of you, so you have to wait around for like 25 minutes?
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Gosh. That sounds like... That's people with too much time on their hands. That's more of an experience thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Too many poncy people that like their fancy bread.
Well... Not sure how C-Power misses that shot. Looked like he had a free opening onto Snacks. He had the boost, and Snacks not watching it. That does bait them into the setup regardless. And Illuminar just denied at the door by the flashbangs. They're getting absolutely pounded, and that's forZe's first flawless round. Up to 14, and it just won't stop. That's 10 in a row.
And as I mentioned before, look at this bank on Illuminar. They've not got the cash to invest into this one. They're going to go for a half buy, stay around that $1,000 to $1,500 mark. With the max loss bonus, they'll be able to invest into the next. But that means it's pistols and Mac 10s to work with to deny forZe match point here on Mirage. And remember, this was an 11-4 half from Illuminar. This has been a flawless comeback from forZe, and this B-Rush, it's not going to pay anything for them.
It hasn't so far, and with Waro on the AWP, and this crossfire brutal even finds a collateral in the meantime. It's 15 forZe. Illuminar, they need the same number of rounds as when this thing started. 4 to get to overtime. Regulation out of possibility, as forZe need 1 out of 4 to finish off. And this double AWP setup has worked wonders. Remember, Waro, he was 2 to 12 in the first half. Now 14 to 18, definitely nothing to brag about, but realistically, Illuminar might not even be playing with 5 players anymore. They certainly aren't. They do take the pause. Nick of time as well. Nobody's taken any damage, so we can reset it.
Yeah, it's looking like the case. Of course, talking of no damage, in that last round where Illuminar actually charged into the B site with the Mac 10s, they did not deal a single point of damage onto forZe. That just shows how rock solid that defense was and how just unchallenged they were. Really feels like they've been unchallenged for the entirety of this half.
And that's because they haven't. 0 rounds. Barely any real notable kills. They might as well just get this one over and done with, of course. Want to play with... Maybe that's the kryptonite. You get out 2 snackses. Maybe that's the only thing that can save them now.
I think Illuminar are going to be disappointed with this one. Clearly, they're like Mirage. They have a solid CT side, but their T side just seems to be lacking. Or maybe it is purely down to the fact that forZe as we mentioned before, they are the better team here, but with those two stand-ins, there's a massive contingency in play. It really does make things difficult, especially on that T side, which is what we saw in that first half. But as they move over to the defensive side, it really does accommodate these stand-ins. forZe, he's not been a problem at all today. He's been fragging superbly. I think he's on about 23 frags right now. And bo1, who was the man that was lacking on that attacking half, is putting up some numbers here on the CT side. As you say, 14 kills, it's nothing to brag about. But remember, 12 in this half so far, it's not too bad whatsoever. He's really starting to catch up his teammates and close that very noticeable gap that was there.
And just like a stopped clock is right twice a day, I've got to say, we read this series in general absolutely perfectly about the forZe T side being lackluster, just off of the back of bo1 maybe not being very comfortable, and then CT side, you'd expect that to be a lot more sturdy. And, well, it certainly has been. A flawless half, perhaps, as bo1 snipes away too. He's feeling massively comfortable here on this counter-terrorist side, and another Molotov forces PHR into the open. He's basically low on HP, living on borrowed time towards mid, and even with the boost in full effect, I expect this just to end right now. Maz finds a headshot in the meantime in Illuminar. Can they pull back their first of this T side? Perhaps not. They've still got bo1 to deal with on the B bomb site, if that's where they're edging towards. And still multiple angles to check. C power around this corner. It often goes unnoticed here on Mirage. Minute remains. Maz, it's a stalemate. Playing a game of chicken with this smoke grenade. Of course, neither player wants to peek it. But as it dissipates, won't spot out too much. And it's all down to C power to make absolutely no noise. Unless he's going to jump across and get into more of a safe space. Along with his teammate, he is actually on this A-bomb site now, so a much better avenue of approach, especially considering there are no HEs at their disposal. Veggie gets his head blown off somehow, and there's absolutely nobody to trade it.
Such strong positions here from forZe. Look, they've got a man in the palace, a man in the apartment, C-Power just dancing around towards CT. He's the man that wants to find all the frags, instead comes back into a 2-on-2. That C4 retrieved, as they will head back to A, but look at Jerry's position. He can single-handedly shut this down.
And bo1 spotted out some toes in the meantime, so he knows what's going on here. The bomb will be planted away from him, and, well, this is his moment to try and end the series. This would be with that flawless CT side that we were talking about. They know that he's got the AWP. Molotov smoke on his back, so bit of utility to play with here. When's he going to throw the smoke grenade? Could actually go to the pistol against the lower HP players. Probably be an advantage. Takes the no-scope instead for Maz to take him away. And Illuminar somehow, just before this one ends, we do get another technical pause, Josh, but they've taken one round at least.
Ah, bo1 actually leaves off of it. He's embarrassed.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's like, I wanted flawless half. I wanted clutch. Maybe that's why he didn't win the clutch. Maybe his mouse had a hair on it or something.
His mouse
have you ever
had
had
hair
that before?
on it.
Yeah, have you ever had that? You have a hair on your mouse mat or like a hair in your mouse sensor, and it completely
as somebody
messes
with
up
very
everything.
few hairs on my head, I can't afford to lose any of them to the mouse.
Well, if you ever get a hair in your mouse sensor, or in fact, you won't know that you have a hair in your mouse sensor, but if you're ever playing, and then every now and again, your mouse just does like a weird jump or something, it means you've got hair in your mouse sensor, and you've got to get a pair of tweezers, and you've got to get it out.
How do I know? Can I shine a light into it? Or does that break the sensor?
No, you can shine a torch into it.
Alright, I'll do it. We'll do a live troubleshoot. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of notifications. Did somebody die? What happened? Okay. No hair in the sensor, so we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. But yeah, if it ever happens, that might be what it is. You're welcome.
We're back into the action. Thank you, Tech Master, for the beautiful technical advice.
That's all right. It wasn't just for you. It was for everyone.
You could have been helping with the technical pause if you're this good. We didn't know that you had hidden skills. I didn't know you had any skills.
Oh, toxic, man.
You hide them very well.
Maybe, but Illuminar, seems they've been hiding whatever this is throughout the entirety of this T side. This is an incredibly precise round. Really, really fantastic stuff. They've just walked into this A site. They found all of the frags. Brings things into a 5-on-2, and this is going to be a no-brainer save call here from forZe. They actually don't have tons of cash behind them, so they do want to hold on to these rifles. And this is going to put Illuminar onto 13. I'm not too sure whether they'll be able to actually bring this one back to overtime just yet, but I'm starting to have my doubts. After forZe had a flawless CT half, they won 11 in a row. I was very much expecting them to just close it out. And instead, there's actually a chance that Illuminar pulled this one off. And what was it called again? What was the law?
Oh, it's Yakut's Law.
Yakut's Law, yeah.
Yes, this is
Maybe
Yakut's Law at its finest. If we can open the scoreboard, I don't know if that breaks everything, but you can see best demonstrated. Of course, well, winning, I think, 10 rounds in a row and then losing one just before the end is exactly Yakut's Law. And now I've said it, I can clip it and send it to him because I did say.
Perfect. Well, I mean, the thing is with it right now is the scoreline's so close that when it actually comes into play, Illuminar are only 2 away from taking this one to OT. You often see it where it's like a massively dominant performance. They'll be like, I don't know, 15-4 down, and then they'll bring back a few rounds, and then it will close out 15-8 or something like that. But in this scenario, they've only got to really win this next one. Then they're up against a pretty lackluster buy from forZe, and we could definitely be going to overtime. So they really do need to step up here. I'd love to see it, but Illuminar, they just really haven't shown us enough from their T side to put confidence in me.
Yeah, I don't have a massive amount of confidence either. You see the double snipers come out once again, and forZe another chance to close this one out. I wouldn't say early, we're in round number 29, but with the smokes misplaced and Flit spraying right through it, Reeds is going to drop initially, and the AWPs now can step up to the plate. They've got Warrow and C-Power both peeking and swinging. Over that smoke would definitely be dangerous against Snacks, but he hasn't done a lot on this terrorist side. Nobody has. They've only taken 2 rounds, and it's been since those technical pauses that broke up forZe's pace. Snacks needs to level up this playing field, of course. forZe are just 4 kills away from winning this best of 1. And with C-Power sniping away another one, that puts Veggie in a world of pressure, with Snacks watching towards short, and everybody from forZe on a defensive policy. Jerry, yes, he's going to drop. He's been playing sandwich practically every single round, barely ever dying. This time, Illuminar, they need to turn the tide once again. A 3 versus 5, that would be a confident shift. And maybe pause for thought, maybe time for overtime. Flit doesn't want it, though. PHR finds one in the meantime. He's going to burn and toast through these flames. Down to 70 HP, shouldn't be a massive disadvantage. They've got 30 seconds to play with, and here comes the rotate already, Josh. From short, from CT. Warrow doesn't need to peek, and through that Molotov, might even decide to get aggressive. He does. Oh no, he's taken so much damage in this engagement and actually spotted out nothing. Finally does find Snacks, and that might be the series over if PHR doesn't have anything to say about it. 2 quick kills. Warrow misses the shot. He's down to just a pair of HP. With a flash over the top, he's still got the angle posted, and he misses it again. Massive moment here for the young gun, and he doesn't pull it off, Josh.
Oh, that's so unfortunate, Warrow. He's had a couple of opportunities to just close this one out in the clutch scenarios, and that is an unfortunate one. Multiple chances to land that shot and just can't do so. The nerves really do get to him, and that allows Illuminar on to 14, and that aforementioned lackluster buy here from forZe. Pistol, couple of FAMASs, that MP9 to contend with the AKs, but it seems to be doing so quite nicely. Starting things off, it's Flit with that FAMAS, brings things into a 5-on-4. And Illuminar, oh no, this is going horribly wrong.
Such a feel-good moment and a shutdown once again. Remember, back-to-back 3 versus 5s now. That was a 1 versus 3 as well. Basically, all of the 1vx situations initially going Illuminar's way, but Flit wants to single-handedly end this series. He's already on a triple. And with a Molotov placed to slow him down, would have certainly gone for even more with just the FAMAS in play. 24 kills for him, leading along with C-Power, the 2 big members in this series. Minute remains, low on HP this time. Going to be a lot harder to pull this one off. Could be a 16-14. It's forZe right around this corner. Needs to just stay alive here, and he's got all of the information. And that final frag It's 16 to 14 as forZe, they do it. That's a big comeback.